This video is going to cover how to set up the game. You've got dragons and wizards. They're not even in their homes yet. You've got things to punch. You've got a lot of things to punch. So I'm here to go over that. Now, there's a handy dandy sheet in the box which helps you with all this. It's actually double-sided. You can use it once and then toss it. So it's pretty good. It covers how to set up the dungeon trays, the player trays, and the resource trays. But I just want to go over some of the other, nuances and explain little things here and there in case you want to know more about it. Now, I'll start with the dungeon trays. There's these sticker sheets, and you're like, well, how should I sticker it? Well, we're giving you one way, which is you can do air, earth, fire, and water, and light, dark, order, and chaos. Now, does it matter? Not really. The only reason why we do that order, which we tested, we did that for most of playtesting, is because the reason the stickers are there and they have one resource big and one resource small is that the resource that's big is the most dominant resource that element needs. And that's a nuance that you'll get into. If you're playing fire and someone else is playing light, those are both gem heavy, so you'll find that gems are all over the place. But maybe scrolls are rare because nobody picked the ones that have scrolls. It's a very minor thing. The game is very balanced. It doesn't matter. You'll just find that some games you have to adapt as you discover what's missing, what's not missing. Well, the reason why we like to group air, earth, fire, and water is because if you're playing two-player and you only play with 4 elements and you grab one tray, those are 4 very balanced ones, and light, dark, order, and chaos are very balanced in terms of number of gems, number of tools that are in the game. But again, it doesn't matter. You can pick any elements. You'll probably be picking from different trays anyway. If you're playing 4 players, you'll be playing with 6 elements. It doesn't matter. You'll find out that all the games are different, and some are very fun when it's resource scarce for some resource, right? But I just want to explain that that's how we did the stickers, but you don't have to do that way. You just do it however it sounds fun to you. Other things about the dungeon trays are that you really don't have to shuffle the cards in between. There is a doorway and there's 12 other cards. If you're playing with doorways, there's actually a mode where you don't have to play with doorways. But if you're playing with doorways, I just shuffle the 12 cards underneath because it doesn't matter what order they're in, and then I slap the doorway on top, and I leave it closed, and if someone's playing that element, right before we go, I flip that open, the doorway's turned on, and that way you can see which elements are in play and which ones are not. You don't really have to shuffle the treasure tokens either, but if you just played and you feel like they're in the exact order you've seen them, you can shuffle those up. They come in stacks of 3, and there's some repeats, so it doesn't really feel like you have to shuffle those too much. But let's talk about the player tray for a second, because all of the player pieces are outside of the trays at the very first when you open it up. So you'll want to put those together, and they've got dwellings on the left. It's pretty easy to find where the dragon, the wizard, and the warrior go. In fact, the workers are pretty easy. The dice, it's a very well done tray by Game Trays. I can tell where everything goes. The 4 slots below the dragon, those are treasure token slots. I don't know if we mentioned that enough, but you can only hold 4. That's why there's 4 right there. If you ever pick up a 5th treasure token in the game, you just have to convert one to resources, which you can do as a free action. So there's no real issue there, just to remind you that you can hold 4. And below that are resource wells, and you can only hold 5 of a resource. Like, you can have 5 gems and 5 tools and 5 potions. So we put a max 5 on that tray just to kind of help you think of that. Now, the scoring tokens are all kept in the rightmost well, which is the gold well. And the reason for that is because you don't start with a gold. So if you were to put one of each resource in your tray, you don't need anything for gold. So that's why we put the 6 over there. And then orbs when you get an orb in the game, you can keep it in that triangular well below the dice if you want to, or you can keep the orb wherever the heck you want. I'm not here to tell you where to keep your orbs. But that's how you set up a player tray. Resource tray, just really briefly, I'll mention that if you're not sleeving your cards, you can use one of the resource trays to hold all 60 cards, use the other one as a discard. If you are sleeving, they can hold 30 each. The resources hold about 10 each, so if you own more resource sets, you'll have to choose which one you want to be the star of the show. On the player boards, just note that if you put one of each in every single elemental tray, during the game you might be short on gems, and you're like, why am I short on gems? Oh, because there's one in light tray and chaos tray and earth tray. So if you own multiple sets of resources, you can solve that by putting, say the cardboard in your starters and the wood ones in your resource trays, however you want to do it. But I just want to mention that the resources are plenty if people are spending and so forth, but if you've got them in your trays, you may find that you're short, but it's pretty easy in this game to just use a suitable replacement if that happens, or use all of the bazillions of resources that we unlocked on the Kickstarter. Hexes to punch. You'll notice that there's either 32 or 33, depending on if you own the legendary. And so what you want to look for to see if you got it all is you'll have 3 of each element, so 3 earth, 3 water, 3 light, 3 dark. You have a layer in each one of those with a monster icon on it. They'll all be different art, which is really cool. Thanks to Sergio Chavez for that. I like to keep the 8 ruins and the Bifrost in the center, and I put 12 and 12 of elements on the other stacks. But you can do however you want to. Below the discard tray and that realm holder is like, it's an area where you keep the Watcher, where you keep the monster dice, the orbs, and also you've punched out or used your wooden copy of the treasure trove, dragon trove tokens, and the tactics tokens. And you'll see that the cardboard standees go right there if you're using those. So everything's got a spot in this tray, but it can be daunting to figure out where it all goes. So there's a diagram on the back of the main rule book, which shows you how the trays all go in. I don't think if there's anything else. I mean, the monsters go in their spot. If you have the sound bases, they're already in their spot. For cards, I want to mention that we had a little bit of a goof up on printing. When we printed the cards, they had the starter player cards had the wizards requiring tools and the warriors needed potions. That's the reverse. So we reprinted those, stuck them in every box. What you're going to want to do is chuck the old ones. Do not play in the alternate universe where wizards require tools and swords. You want wizards that love potions. So chuck the old ones, keep the new ones. As far as your cards go, you'll have all of your elements already in the dungeon tray. So what's left is monsters, mercenaries, solo mode cards, and starter cards. And those can all fit in one of the 2 tray wells. If you're sleeving, we've got an extra well. If you're not sleeving, that's where a good spot to stick the extra resources if you got them. I think that's it. Oh, you got to find your hinted mini. So find that and we'll be back for another video.